And let's start with Dredge. I think that's where I want to start today because this is one of my favorite indie games in a long ass time, maybe since The Forgotten City. I love this little game. It does something to my brain that is so specifically aligned for what I like in video games. It's actually something I don't think I've ever talked about on the channel. That I grew up a really big fan of The Sims, like The Sims 1 and 2 in particular. I loved those games. And so Dredge, on the surface, it's like this fishing simulation combined with Cthulhu sort of Lovecraftian horror influence in there. What's lurking beneath the surface that you can't see? Going out at night, dredging and fishing, and you're mildly hallucinating a little bit. You think you're having to deal with your sanity meter by heading to your rest points and getting some rest, going to sleep, before it gets too dark, or before you've stayed up too long, too many hours, and you start really having your sanity fucked with. So those horror elements, of course, really appeal to me. But the Sims element is something I haven't talked about, unfortunately. And I guess it's because I don't really play a lot of those games anymore. But also, the thing about Dredge that really works for me is it's not like a management only game. It's not like a farming game where the point of the game is farming. There is a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end. So that sort of linear pathway, while still being very open and allowing you to go off into the open sea and explore what you want to explore and see what you want to see. But it's giving you the freedom and the openness, but it's also, you got an endpoint to your story. So that's kind of appealing to the older gamer in me. When I was younger, I would just create my little Sims family and play that shit for hundreds of hours. And it's like, never got bored of it, because it was like, well, shit, time is unlimited, it feels like, when you're a kid. But now it's like, this just really appealed to me because I was able to do my little fishing sim, able to go off on my quests, and then able to finish the game probably 15 hours into my journey. And then I really dove into this thing. Going off and trying to upgrade my engine on my boat to max capacity, going off and trying to get all the rods so I can catch the biggest fish, and grabbing the different pots and the different fucking nets and shit, so that you can just drop it off the back of your boat, and as you're traveling from one island to another, you're just sucking up as many fish as possible. You head to your fish market, or I believe they call it like a fish monger. You head to the fish market, sell off your fish, and then you go and take that. And you also have like these little research parts that you get from dredging. And I love that system so much because it's this, once again, unpredictable nature where you go off and you see like it gives you like a little outline when you're fishing for what you think you're about to catch. And it'll be like motor parts, essentially, or cloth bolts or something. And you'll think, okay, cool, I do need some wood panels, I do need some cloth, I do need some metal parts. That way I can you do that with researching as well, where you have to put in your parts and all the different shit that you found. That way you can be able to upgrade to get like the next level of the best engine and the best rods and all that shit. But when you're going out and you're dredging trying to find these resources, you oftentimes, you'll find the little research parts as well. And it's like this gold little circular cog thing that pops up. And every time you get it, it's like this just endorphin rush, man. It's this great endorphin rush. You're like, hell yeah. I thought I was going to get this motor part, which is great. Sometimes you do need that. But anytime you find that research part, you're like, fuck yeah, I'm about to head back to the shop, upgrade my boat even more. And I don't want to dive too deep into the narrative of the game or the abilities that you get, because that's very much tied to the narrative. But I will say, the further you go in this game, the more abilities you unlock that help you deal with the terrain, or help you deal with I mean, it's pretty apparent. I think in the trailers it does show you're going up against some monstrous style fish that are coming at you, trying to attack you, and you got some enemies that you have to prepare for. And so you get abilities that deal with that along the way. I won't go into what they are or anything because it's real cool to see it pop up. I will say, I believe this is the first one you get. You have the ability to get like a speed burst on your boat. And it's so cool watching the evolution of your boat from when you first get it and you're cruising around and you can barely move that thing, man. Anytime danger is present, you're like, I'm fucked. I'm so absolutely fucked. And then, when you're 10 hours in, 12 hours in, and you got that engine all the way upgraded, you're just flying past shit. It's such a rewarding loop where you constantly feel like your boat is getting better. You're getting better lighting equipment. You're just able to deal with things so much better as you go through the course of the game because of your persistence in the open seas when you're going off and fishing and shit. It was a delight to play. It was an absolute delight to play. It's simple. You know what I mean? You're not going to struggle with the game. You're going to get through it with no problem. But it's still they're early in the game. You do kind of run into that danger and that horror that makes you tense up a little bit just trying to get back to shore or get back to your safe point so that you can rest until the next day. So it does kind of give you that layer of tension that is very much palpable in the earlier moments of the game. Later on, not so much. You're breezing through it pretty easily, but each island has their own distinct setup and distinct look and different types of foes that you're running up against at night and just in general, and so you catch different fish that have different costs for when you sell them. Each island has their own selection of different fish. And you meet different characters along the way who want you to help out with side questing. So you go off and run some errands for this character and they give you a little research part or they give you a book. And then whenever you read your book, you click on the book to read it and he kind of reads it while he's fishing or while he's, chilling. And as he finishes a book, you get 10% lower costs with some of the fish merchants. You get 10% of a less likelihood of depleting the fish population as you're down there, fishing for your sharks and shit like that. When you want those big money fish and you see the population, sometimes it starts off at high, and then as you keep catching them and reeling them in, it goes to medium, and then it goes to low, and you're like, dude, I don't know if I want to do one more because I don't want to deplete the population of fish here, because I do believe the next time you come back, if you don't deplete it, the fish count begins to repopulate. So, and honestly, it might do that even if you do deplete it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I feel like I have depleted some of the fish population, and then they would just repopulate in the same exact spot the next day when you roll back through there. So, it's not trying, once again, it's not trying to challenge you. It's trying to give you a really, really fun loop that is cozy and relaxing and also a little bit terrifying at night and tense at night. And then it wants you to feel that progression whenever you get further in the game, where it's just like, yeah, I'm breezing through this thing with no problem whatsoever. I feel like I was making a point and I completely lost where the hell my thought process was going there. But yeah, man, we'll go ahead and close it up with Dredge. It's a beautiful, great indie game that I had an absolute blast playing, and it's one that let me go ahead and confess my sin on Dredge, though. This is something I'm not proud of, but you know what? At the same time, I'm very glad that it turned out that I loved this game. But I didn't know how much I loved it when I did what I did. I bought it digitally, even though I had a physical copy that was in the mail, or that I bought that was being shipped out to me. I bought it digitally 4 days before Horizon Burning Shores came out, because I did not realize that Burning Shores and Dead Island 2 were like literally a day or two apart from one another. And then Dredge, the physical version, was releasing, I believe, I think, I could be wrong, I think Burning Shores released 19th, the 19th. Dredge, my physical copy, would have been here the 20th. And then Dead Island 2 would have been the 21st, I think. So it was just going, like, I wasn't, it would have been a shit show. You know what I mean? I would have been kind of all over the place. And I just wanted to finish Dredge and then dive into Burning Shores, because I knew that would be shorter, and then dive into Dead Island 2 and not have to, like, rush through it. I wanted to really get the experience out of each of them. But, yeah, you know, double dipping there. But I will say I love the game so much that I'm looking at it now. I'm glad that I made that decision, because I'm happy to put some more money in those developers' pockets. But I didn't know that going into it, so it's something I you know, try my best not to do, but it you know, it is what it is. I'm glad it just panned out. I'm glad it wasn't some stinker of a game and I'm fucking sending extra money to a developer of a game that made some shit I didn't like at all, giving them extra incentive to make more of it. But I'm glad it did work out that way for this fucking gorgeous, beautiful little indie game, watching the dolphins jump out of the water as sun's setting or sun is rising, and you're seeing fucking whales, you know, whales doing their little whale shit. What do whales do? You see some whales in the game, they're out there chilling, catching sharks. The inventory management, that's I don't know how I didn't think about or didn't speak about this. The inventory management, the one of my favorite parts of old school survival horror games, trying to get all those inventory slots lined up, and you know, you got the eel, you go out and you get the eel, it takes up three spaces in your inventory slots. So you got that 3 there, you maybe only have 2 left, so you know, you go in and you're looking around, and you got to find the fish that only takes up 2 slots, so you put that there. But then you see a shark and you're like, oh shit, I want to catch this shark because I'll go make $125 or $200 at the fish market. So you catch the shark, he's all fucking lopsided, and then, you know, takes up all this space in the inventory, and nothing that's like he's taking up a bunch of jagged ass space with his fin and all that shit. So you're having to line up your inventory around the shark and his fin and all his weird little parts, and then, you know, just the big ass fucking sharks and swordfish and shit that you're trying to catch. Just it gives you that great, you know, inventory management satisfaction that you get from survival horror games. That's like one of my favorite parts of Dredge, just filling up that inventory slot and taking it back to the fish market and clicking sell all and getting, you know, fucking two grand, or I don't know if I ever got $2,000, but getting a bunch of money from having that inventory, that full inventory filled up with fish. And then, you know, you have these I forget what they call it, but like these special fish that you can collect at night, or just certain times throughout the day, certain breed of fish you can catch a special variation, and then they sell for a little bit more. And yeah, it was so satisfying. It hit that specific dopamine rush in my brain that just works for me on the survival horror level and also the chill kind of sim management level. I love Dredge. Legitimately, like, one of my favorite games of the year. I was really considering, after I finished this, I was like, damn, is this? I think Resident Evil 4 Remake is my favorite game of the year, but I was like, this might be my fucking number 2 game of the year. Hogwarts Legacy's up there, but Dredge, Resident Evil 4, and Hogwarts Legacy, those are my top 3. Dredge is a legit game of the year contender. Do not sleep on this bad boy. This is an excellent fucking video game.